Anyone can become a great interviewer, as long as you understand the goal is simply to have a great conversation. You've seen the videos that don't hit the mark. They are hard to watch. You feel uncomfortable because the interaction between the interviewer and interviewee is awkward. Maybe one or both is nervous, and it shows. In this video, I'll share 6 tips you can use right away for your next on-camera interview so your guests open up and the two of you end up having a great conversation, even if you've never talked with each other before. You're watching part 2 of this interview series. People have been asking me for tips on how to conduct interviews for years, and this is the result. Feel free to watch part 1 when you get a chance, which will help you lay the foundation for a great conversation. It's the prep work you can do ahead of time. I'm Cheryl Tan with Cheryl Tan Media. We help startups to Fortune 500 companies build their media authority and communicate better on video. Subscribe to this channel to get social video strategies for your marketing teams. Click the subscribe button and the bell icon, and you won't miss a thing. As you're putting together video content for your company, or you're trying to level up your interview skills for your next podcast or video interview, keep in mind that not focusing on this leads to boring videos or videos that are really tough to watch. How to avoid that? Tip number 1, do your homework. Don't wing it. I did mention this in depth in part 1 of this interview series, but it's so important, I have to mention it again. If you watch some of the best interviews, they look effortless. It's because the interviewers have done their homework to make sure they know quite a bit about their guests. If you have an assistant, that one person can gather this information for you to look at, but don't skip this part. You're looking for common ground. You're looking for events you can discuss that are relevant to when you're conducting the interview. You're looking for that spark that will be the springboard for a great conversation. You're searching for a topic that you're interested in that will also be interesting to your viewer or listeners. Look for items on the second page of Google. Listen to podcast episodes, read articles written by or about your interviewee, and do this before you have the conversation. Tip number 2, make sure your interview subject is comfortable and set some expectations beforehand. I found it's important for your interviewee to know that you're excited to be having this conversation. If you're not excited about the person you're interviewing, maybe it's time to find someone else to talk with. I always get asked, should I give questions ahead of time to guests? And I say yes, for 2 reasons. You want to make sure the guests understand the flow of the show. This is a great way for them to see that. If you decide to ask the same questions of every person you talk with on your show, it's a good idea for them to prepare these answers ahead of time. Here's where you can share questions that allow your guests to show a bit more of their personality. For example, if you ask about a favorite book or a favorite movie or something like that, let them know this ahead of time so the Q&A part is quick and painless. And this leads to number 3. You can absolutely go off script. In fact, that's what makes interviews great, the unexpected. Giving your guests the questions ahead of time allows you to have a roadmap in case your guest is a little shy. While you're listening to answers, you may come up with a question that's not on your list, but you know would elicit a really good response. Feel free to take advantage of that opportunity and ask away. The next tip, number 4, don't be afraid of the silence. Encourage your interviewees to tell their stories. Ask them to remember a time that is relevant to the subject you're talking about, but if you're asking them questions, give them time to think. And we all want to fill the silence with words that can also lead to trouble. During the interview, sometimes that pause is all that is needed to jog a memory of a great story. Give them that space and time to think. These stories are a great opportunity to continue to ask questions that are not on the scripted list. And it makes each interview different, even though you're giving everyone the same list of questions ahead of time. The stories truly make the difference. Next, number 5, allow your natural curiosity to shine through. When you're new at interviewing people, you may always be thinking about that next question. But if you focus on the answers your interviewee is giving you, You'll move into the zone eventually. It's a space where you're really asking questions just for yourself, and the audience is there for the ride. It's when you ask questions and you genuinely want to know the answer. When you fall into the zone, you start to enjoy yourself. You're having a real conversation, and the person you're interviewing will start to enjoy the experience as well. It becomes more fun. You know you're doing a great job when the person, especially if he or she gets interviewed a lot, afterwards says something like, "That was a really good conversation. You're excellent at this. Thank you so much." And to number 6, allow for time to talk after the official interview is over. Some of the best conversations you have are after the official interview is over. It makes sense. No one is nervous. The interview is technically done. Everyone relaxes. And questions you ask are questions you genuinely want to know the answer to, but for whatever reason you didn't think about or didn't want to ask in the main part of the talk. If you're able to keep recording, do so. If your interviewee knows that the recording is continuing, usually by this point, there's no more stress. And here is where you as the interviewer, you're more relaxed, and sometimes you ask some really good questions because both of you are more relaxed, everyone has a better time, and the interviewee starts to ask questions of you. And that's really fun. This time, right after the official interview is over, is where relationships get solidified. It's your chance to learn about the other person's business. Maybe you can share a little bit about yours. Take advantage of this time together and have better conversations. If this was helpful, please let me know what part was the most helpful. Feel free to share this video with a friend or colleague who needs to see it. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching.